What was the first moment you were there that you're like, oh my gosh, this is it?
From our perspective, you guys just play all day.
Here's something that Walt Disney created in 1955 in Anaheim, California, and here we are in the middle of Tokyo, Japan.
Wow.
And that it would still be powerful for people. I remember going to Bob Iger and saying, we're going to tear down the entire main entrance. And I was like, that's the end of my Disney career. The hidden secret of the whole Disneyland thing, which I'll tell you now.
Our guest today has been a Disney Imagineer for over 30 years. He became president of Imagineering in 2016 and has created some of our favorite Disney experiences. He was the chief designer of Hollywood Studios, and he reimagined DCA into what we know and love today, including Cars Land. He was the principal creative executive for Shanghai Disneyland, which means he and his team basically created a city. He has continued to work with Imagineering, including the newest fleet of Disney cruise ships and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. In retirement, he has become an author and has released 2 books, Dream Chasing and Ghost Dogs. Everybody, please welcome Bob Weis.
Bob
Hey.
Weis!
Oh my gosh!
Welcome to the show, guys. So if
So
you don't
happy
know,
to be here.
Bob Weis is the retired Walt Disney Imagineering President, and he oversaw some incredible projects, Eric.
Yeah, some that are pretty much our favorite. So I know you worked on Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, of course, was a big one. Shanghai Disneyland, and you even were a part of Cars Land as well, right?
Yes, and many, many other projects we could talk about.
I'm sure there's lots
Yes.
of
Oh my
projects.
gosh, and I cannot wait to hear about all of them.
I know. And we are so honored to have you on the show. I mean, thank you so much for joining us
feel
today.
totally awesome to be
Yeah.
here.
Yes!
We met. It's been a long time since we met. We finally got this together. I'm
Yes.
so glad we could do it, and just excited to chat with you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
Absolutely.
So we named it the Totally Awesome Show because we have some cool opportunities to meet some very cool people such as yourself. And we were looking around and we're like, what's something we care about? And it's just awesome people, and they usually have awesome stories. We've done some fun things, so we like to think we have awesome stories of our own to share with you, sometimes from kind of that fan perspective. And we're really excited to have you on today. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, and I hope I can be as awesome as you as I need to be on this show. But thank you so
For
much.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kara, you had a pretty good opening question.
Talk into your mic.
You had a pretty fun opening question if you want to
Are you talking
start.
about the fun one?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I have been so curious to know for a very long time about the potential projects that happened during your presidency at Imagineering. And I wanted to know what your favorite potential project was. Something that didn't happen but might have been fun, if that's okay.
There's lots of interesting projects that you talk about that don't happen, but I'd say that first of all, they're all top secret, so I can't.
I was going to
Yeah, I was
say.
gonna say, I figured.
something
They'll
you're
have to
allowed
kill us before we leave the room.
Yeah.
But I would say the perspective on your question, I think, is really interesting for people, which is, well, how many projects come through all the way to the system and get done, and how many don't? There's a very high percentage, frankly, of projects that get all the way through the gauntlet because Disney is always hungry to do new projects for their guests, right? So you're positively looking to do things.
Yeah.
But many things, do get to that point where it doesn't feel right for now, for this time, for this budget on this park or something like that. And we have this great place, which is appropriately nicknamed the Art Morgue, which has a lot of drawers in it. It's actually called the Information Resource Library, but we also call it the Art Morgue. And everything goes in a drawer, even a digital drawer these days. But in the old days, it went into a drawer. And so many of those things get pulled out later and become a part of a new project, or they become something that you think about later.
Wow.
So I think we like to say we never really cancel them or put them on ice. We hold them, and someday it might come back.
That's really cool.
I
That's a
actually
great
love
perspective,
that. That's
yeah.
better than any answer I could actually think of. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just knowing, I mean, I could sit and name certainly like Disney rides or different things that we're obsessed with, just that opened, I guess, during your time at Imagineering, or maybe a little bit after. And it's good to know that those ideas are like held, even if maybe the theming doesn't work out or some project isn't all the same. You still go to the Art Morgue and pick out something.
Eric, one of the interesting things about this business is if you make a TV show or a film and it doesn't work out and it opens, you have a bad weekend. That's it. If you put it in a park, you have a bad 30 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the things you have to do is you have to be confident when you move forward
Yeah.
on something. And then when it opens, you usually go in and you listen to guest reaction and you talk to them. You might do focus groups. You might just informally talk to guests. And then you go in, you know, in the middle of the night, you make improvements and you keep changing it, modifying it until it's the best it could possibly be for the guests. And that's just part of the process.
Actually, what's kind of cool about that is we rode Tiana's Bayou Adventure the first day it opened at Walt Disney World.
Okay.
And literally at the exit, I don't know how it ended out, but because it was the virtual queue system, but
Yeah.
Eric got virtual queue 1.
Yeah.
And so we
were group 1.
we were group
Oh my
1.
gosh.
We woke up, got it, and then we just had to like book it over to the park so we could actually get on the
I
ride.
Yeah.
expected to have like an hour more sleep before even going to the park for it. And Eric's like, "Oh, we have to
group
go
1.
now."
They're gonna
Yeah.
board at like
We're
7:45
going.
in the morning. So
So-
I was like,
So we left and we like got on the ride really early, and waiting at the exit of the ride was probably 5 or 6 of the Imagineers that built it that were asking us questions about like what we thought and different things like that. And I thought it was so cool. That they were all there to celebrate that, you know, that their
The opening,
achievements.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
this is happening.
yeah,
It's-
and
grand
it's-
opening.
That's really one of the most emotional moments for any Imagineer is when something opens to stand at the exit and just watch people as they come off and listen to the reaction. Hopefully it's positive.
Yeah.
Usually it's positive. And talk to them. But it's the best time to get a reaction because, you know, right after you get off, right, you have a fresh idea, you're
Yeah.
excited, you know,
Yeah.
so you can ask people then and later on you might ask them questions in a interview situation like this where you ask them, what did you like about that? What did you like about that? So you can get more in depth.
Right.
But if they get off, they're smiling, they got splashed in that
Yeah.
case,
Yeah.
you know, you got a pretty good idea whether it's working or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'll just say, opening of Tiana's, they had the splash rating turned up to like a 12.
Oh,
yeah.
We got soaked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
in
there,
the-
there was a lot of soaked laughter coming off the ride.
There was.
I went with the team on, this was probably 3 months before opening.
Oh, wow.
I went for a review and we made notes because I, you know, had supported the team and worked on it way back to the beginning. And we went all the way through. We got completely soaked. This was I don't know if they were even adjusting the water at that stage. We were completely soaked. We got to the load area, and the leader of the team did this, like, we're going again. And we're like, okay, all right, we'll go again. So we go again. If it's possible to be more soaked, you know, we're soaked again. We get to the load area. She holds up her hand. Three, we're going again. So we went 3 times. It was like we
man.
just stepped out of a pool.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
That's hilarious.
But, you know, it was fun. It's fun. And it's great to do. You know, the team is so tired, exhausted, you know, they're just so happy to be able to ride it, see it happen. You know, it's that moment of just complete excitement when something you've dreamed about for, you know, in the case of that team, you know, something you dreamed about probably for 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
And finally
Wow,
it's
that was a
done
big
and
one.
it's really happening. You know, it's great.
It was a fun ride. I really loved the spirit of the attraction. You
Yeah,
know, I
it's
thought it
great
was
spirit,
the whole
yeah.
vibe was
lots
fun.
of joy.
Absolutely.
Something I'll say when you talked about someone in your ride vehicle holding up the hand and be like, we're going to go a second or third time, that just brings back so many memories because we would always ride with our friends, whether it's Tiana or Splash Mountain when we were younger. We would sit there and sometimes it was late at night and the cast members, if there wasn't a line, would be like, do you want to ride
Do you
again?
want to go again?
And we got up
I
maybe
think-
6 or 7
I think our
times.
record
Yeah.
is Grizzly River Run in the middle of winter in a poncho where there was just nobody in line and they're like, they just let us loop. I think
just
we
let us
rode
keep
it
going,
probably
yeah.
like you said, like
Probably
6
7
times.
or 8, yeah. I mean, however many times it was, I love to know that the team who worked on it does the same thing where they're looking at the cast members. They're like, can we go again?
Sort of. And
Yeah.
you know, when you're a cast member, or you know, in my case, an Imagineer, you love to ride these for years and years. And I remember going late at night in the Magic Kingdom to Big Thunder with some friends after dinner, and we were there, and they said, "You want to ride again?" And we said, "Sure." And you want to ride again? Sure. You want to? We tried. How many times can we ride it before they kick us off?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But it's fun. It never gets old, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it
absolutely.
never ever gets old.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the cast member that's like, I kicked off the Imagineers. Like, I told them they couldn't
They're gonna hear
go.
from us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, but that's such a fun feeling when you like finish a ride, your very first reaction. Something I'm curious about, like, so you work on these rides. And then obviously the big event days are when it opens, right? You have plenty of time where you're just working maybe in an office or maybe in like a warehouse studio toying with animatronics. So I'm just curious, like what a day in the life looked like for you as an Imagineer or as president of Imagineering, and just kind of what you did.
Because from our perspective, you guys just play all day.
Yeah.
He was
The
like,
lightsabers
"Whoa, you
and-
have the brand new lightsaber. That's so cool." So
It is a very fun job, but that doesn't mean we play every day. It is a job, and it can be high pressure, and it can be difficult, and it can be tiring. But ultimately, we're creating fun, right? So
Yeah.
I'd say we take our fun seriously, and it's very collaborative. You work with lots of people, and you work with lots of really interesting people, and exciting people who are passionate, committed to their jobs. But interesting, sometimes you can annoy each other. And the main thing is you have to remember that in any collaboration, there's different kinds of people. Some people are very internally focused. Some people are very extroverted, and you have to find ways as president of Imagineering or even just head of a team. You got to find ways to get everybody to work together and get everybody's great ideas on the table. But when you talk about fun things in the job, and you were talking about writing things early, as an example, Tron, which we first built in Shanghai, it's now at Walt Disney World.
Love Tron.
You ride things as an Imagineer much earlier than anybody. We're the first ones on, and it's at the point where the authorities, the engineering people, the code people, the safety people have said, okay, you can ride it. But that could be when the building still has scaffolding and still being completed, and there's construction everywhere. And I remember one night in Shanghai, they said you can come back at 10 o'clock tonight and ride Tron. Wow. And I'm like, I got to figure out some way to get out of this. There's no way I'm going to. And it was junk everywhere. There was scaffolding everywhere. And I'm thinking, what can I do? I'll just, and I asked, maybe I should wait till, all the executives. No, they said you can ride. It's no problem. I tried all the excuses I could think of. Yeah. And then I was thinking, well, it's going to be, something's going to drop off the scaffolding.
Yeah, you're like, is it safe?
And it's going to decapitate me. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll get in the middle of the train, and whatever falls, it'll hit somebody in front of me, and I'll just duck. Right? All these terrible things are going through my head. Right?
That's great. It makes sense.
So then I have my plan. I'm going to go there. I'm going to sit in the middle of the train. I get there. The whole team's there, and there's one seat in the front row that they held for me.
Just for you.
I'll just be the last one.
But the great thing in that Tron, when I first time I ever rode Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, after that I could ride it a million times. But
Nice.
I do have a lot of anticipation the first time. But after that, I love it. Just want to ride it over and over again.
I definitely relate to that. I was like that the first time I rode Tron also. And the first time I rode Guardians of the Galaxy too, because they had hyped it up so much. I was convinced that I'm like, I'm going to hate this. And now it's my favorite ride ever.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Both of those are like
But it was very
top tier.
It was, and at that point in Imagineering, by the time we were doing rides in the last few years, you could see everything in a simulation. You could see Rise of the Resistance or Cosmic Rewind or anything like that 2 years before it was built, because you're toning every motion, every look, every piece of animation ahead of time. You think about it back then, when the early Imagineers did Pirates or Haunted Mansion, things like that. They didn't have those tools. It was all based on models and their instincts and things like that. So it's fun. It's changed a lot.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I do want to share kind of a funny story we have in regards to Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah.
So not only did we ride Rise of the Resistance opening day, we were also in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge on its opening day a couple months before. But a little bit before all that went down, we were knowing that they built Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. We could see it from the Mickey and Friends parking structure. And we were like, one day that's going to be something cool, because right now it's just kind of an empty plot.
Could tell,
And then the scaffolding goes up, and we're sitting, and we're parked on the very, very roof, because we wanted to check in on the construction, because we're those crazy fans. But we're sitting there, and they have like this massive AT-AT walker head, and it's like sitting completely exposed, and we just freaked out. We were so excited. And it was funny because I guess you guys had to build that because they wouldn't fit in the doors, right? So they did.
You have to put it in ahead of time,
and then you put stuff around it.
Well, and actually, we brought a friend at the end of the day back there, and apparently word had gotten out that you could see it from the top, because by the time we got there was like a tarp covering it.
I can't believe it. It was like a 70-foot long curtain that was just like over the scaffolding.
Oh,
Like, I swear,
everybody's in the parking structure watching. You better cover it up.
Yeah.
Well, and the funniest part is because, you know, Rise of Resistance opened a few months after they actually like debuted Galaxy's Edge. So we walk into Galaxy's Edge and we're like, where is our AT-AT Walker?
We're like,
we
no,
know
we
it's
saw
here.
it.
Yeah, unless they removed it because it got too popular. But then we were very thrilled when Rise of Resistance came out and we saw it all set up. So.
But you probably know more about Galaxy's Edge than we do. Do you have any like stories or anything you want to share about like what that was like?
Well, Adam, I'll tell you about Rise of the Resistance because it was very complicated to do. You could tell from writing it, it's complicated. The first time I wrote it, which in the test stage, I was so happy, and it wasn't because of the ride. I was just so happy it worked, that everything worked. Because there's like 5 different ride systems in one ride that have to take you on those different journeys.
Wow.
And so we were happy to get it all coordinated, get it all working. But it wasn't easy, and none of these things are easy. But sometimes they're really hard, and they take a lot of programming, a lot of work, and all those things. And I was, in a little group that had to go over to Bob Iger's office and tell him that we weren't going to open in time. You do a lot of homework. I brought a couple of the engineers with me. I brought Scott Trowbridge with me. We all came over, and we went through the data. We said, we have this many tests we still have to do. We have this many programming elements. And the great thing about Bob Iger was he looked at it all and he said, okay, it's your decision. And we're going to open the land anyway. The land is great. And we'll open the ride. It'll be a double whammy. We'll open it a few months later. So you have to make those kind of calls. Because not only do you want to make sure the ride is perfect creatively and safety-wise, but you just want to have the confidence that it'll keep running.
Yeah.
Because once you have a big line out front, the worst thing in the world is if it has to close, for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours because something technical didn't work right.
Right.
So a lot goes into these things and make them as awesome as we hope they are.
Yes, and they're very awesome, but I'm sure there's so many just a roller coaster of possibilities and maybe emotions to build roller coasters.
Literally,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that ride is so intricate because I think I remember reading somewhere that it's like almost 3 different rides as like the track switches, and it was like one of the first attempts at trackless, and even there's that part of the ride where they're shooting the cannons that are like actually like in front of where your track is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's lots of tricks going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And they all have to be coordinated and they all have to work perfectly. And there isn't really an option to, if one part of it stalls, to get around it.
Yeah.
So they all have to work together. And so it's great when you experience it. I think even when I experience it today, now I can just look at the magic. Back then I was like chewing my fingernails off.
Like, how are we going to do this?
How are we going to get it done?
Yeah.
No, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Well, you had one of the cool experiences because I think when you guys opened, weren't you on stage with like the Star Wars cast? I think it was, wasn't it? Like, I forgot. George Lucas or Mark Hamill, or wasn't there somebody up there with you?
We had a lot of the folks there. We had a lot of the folks there. I don't remember exactly who was there, but we had a lot of folks there, and we had a lot of people that had worked on the movies for years. Different versions of it.
That's awesome.
Which is great. One of the things about George Lucas or Jim Henson at the time, he's no longer with us anymore, but was the idea that they do these great movies, they create these great characters, and there's no place else like the parks, the Disney parks, to keep them alive for generations.
Yeah.
People remember them because they come back to the parks, they see Chewbacca, they see, all the characters. And so they all really love to come to the parks. Danny Elfman has done a lot of music for the parks. And when we first had Danny Elfman come in for a few projects, he was like, you'll go to the studio and we'll give you the timing chart and we just want you to create the music. And he wanted to come to the parks, walk around, see the people, hear it in place. He really loves the medium. So I think that's why you can usually get a lot of the casts and directors
Yeah.
and producers to come out, because it's a great thing for them. It's as exciting for them as it is for the guests.
Yeah.
They get to
no,
see
for
their
sure.
creation come to life in a new way that
Right,
that
right.
in some ways it's almost more real than when they made the movie, because there's a lot of like movie magic that happens behind the scenes, but
Right.
when you walk into a theme park you're like actually there.
Well, and
Yeah.
it's so rare for a set to get preserved. So for these giant symbols of what they created to still
Yeah.
exist out there must be pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Well, and the
people-
filmmaker has never seen everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, the filmmaker, a lot of the filmmakers will comment on the fact that, well, I only saw this in little bits and pieces of,
Right.
Right.
I never saw it all as a real place, and so it's exciting for them to see it as a real place.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
fun. All right, a question I do want to kind of throw in, maybe a topic.
Yeah.
So we talked about Tiana's and I guess Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and in the middle there, our personal favorite ride opened, which is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah.
That's literally our favorite ride in any park anywhere. I
Yeah.
think it's so much fun. And we recommend this ride to our friends all the time. And half of them are like, you were so right. We should book a trip just to ride this. And our other friends are like, this ride made me more dizzy than I've ever been. And I was so disoriented that
Yeah.
I can't believe you would recommend it to me. So you mentioned on Tron where you were nervous, and then once you kind of got through it, you're able to ride it. So is Cosmic Rewind one of those ones that you'd like to ride? Or is
I
it...
love to ride Cosmic Rewind, and I've
Yay.
never gotten the slightest bit nauseous or anything on it.
It's my mom's favorite ride too.
Awesome, great.
Yeah.
We're together on that. But even though I had seen that ride many, many times in simulation, I still was astounded the first time
Yeah.
I actually rode it, and it just still blew me away. And I knew, you're coming up, you're going to see the giant guy. I knew all that stuff. But it is a amazing thing. And when Epcot opened, there were all these huge, big experiences. And the original Universe of Energy, which you enter to go into Cosmic Rewind, think about this. That was the biggest ride at Epcot.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's now the pre-show to Cosmic Rewind.
Cosmic Rewind. That's a good point.
That is.
So it's mostly the pre-show and the load area for Cosmic Rewind.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we had to build another giant show facility behind Epcot to house Cosmic Rewind. So
Yeah.
that's how big that show is. That's how big that ride is. And it was really important to do something at Epcot. They had the team had this fantastic inspiration, which is, well, we'll just do it like they came to build a pavilion at Epcot and they wanted to welcome people to their planet. It works really well.
Wow.
And the scale of it is gigantic. And that's the kind of thing that really Epcot loves to get, obviously, because it just brings people to Epcot, and people love Epcot. And it gives them another reason to go there.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
I don't know. Maybe it's because of Guardians, but Epcot's like our favorite park over there. We love it so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
we,
it's definitely
For sure.
maybe
become-
because of Guardians, like
Possibly.
I said, but we love
Probably.
it.
We loved a lot over there. Obviously, Frozen Ever After and just the whole World Showcase was
Yeah.
always fun. And so then to add like one of the coolest rides ever made is like now Epcot's just the
Yeah,
best.
now it's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
easily the best.
Yeah,
for sure.
'cause maybe
Well, and it's a smaller scale thing, but it's still, I think, is great. Is Ratatouille too?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just
Yeah.
so
Exactly,
great.
yeah.
And we really needed a ride experience, a ride-oriented attraction in the middle of World Showcase.
Yeah.
It was great to have. So the team which had put that together for Paris and really struggled for a long time to finally get it funded and done in Paris.
Yeah.
Then it just was obvious that it should come to Epcot and be
Yeah.
part of the Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Pavilion.
cool.
So it's great. It's great to do those things. Make them happen.
So I was
Yeah.
curious about Shanghai Disneyland because
Yeah.
that was probably such an incredible project. Because I mean, you're literally, building a brand new Disneyland
Yeah.
somewhere,
That was
right?
a whole
And that's
park.
like, oh yeah,
You
like a
don't get to
whole
do
park.
that very often.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
Not very often
Never,
at all.
never.
I guess.
Maybe one time in your career, maybe a couple times in your career.
Yeah.
I was very lucky to get the opportunity to lead that team. I was in the middle of the Disney California Adventure project with Cars Land and all those.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
in the middle of
Yeah.
that, and Jay Rasulo, who headed parks at the time, came to me and he said, I think you're going to get bored pretty soon. And I said, I'm not getting bored. We're building Cars Land. We just tore down the main entrance of DCA.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yeah.
And he said, no, I think you need an additional assignment. And I'm like,
Wow.
Jay, I think I'm busy enough. I don't need anything. And then he said, well, I think you should start Shanghai. And I was like,
wow.
so that's something I can't turn down.
I can't say no to that.
Oh man.
So I was doing both of those projects
Wow.
until we finished all of the Disney California Adventure stuff, and then I, focused 100% on Shanghai. But it was an exciting thing because you build literally a city. You know, 7 square kilometers, subways, a lake, 2 hotels,
Wow.
Train lines, bus lines, parking lots, and try to reinvent for a new generation, for a new audience, the classic Disneyland and reinvent it in many ways. You couldn't ask for anything better. It was fantastic.
That's
That
so
is
amazing.
so cool.
It's crazy to think about because we think about kind of the innovation that Walt had in order to build Disneyland and kind of start Disney World. Then you guys are looking at what's been established and being like, all right, we don't own anything in a foreign country, and in a couple years there's going to be this whole park, this whole campus, like you said, hotels. That just must be the craziest feeling to be like working on Cars Land. They're like, we have a new project for you. And you're like, am I giving like a facelift to a different ride? They're like, no, you're building a new resort.
It's like, no, you're not facelifting anything. You're starting from scratch, and that's got to be.
Well, and
No,
it's
that's
interesting
crazy.
also that both of them are very Kara. They're both exciting. I originally when they said, "Well, you come down and essentially, kind of renovate Disney California Adventure because we don't think it's resonating the way it should," and I kind of turned my nose up. It's like, it's not a very good park. Why do I want to work on that?
Yeah.
And
I can see
and
that.
I ended up loving doing it because we got to work with the cast, we got to work with the guests, we got to talk to the guests about what was working, what wasn't. We got to do great stuff, as overlays, and we also got to do great things like Cars Land. So sometimes your excitement comes from just the challenge of the moment, right?
Yeah.
It just the challenge of Disney California Adventure, we ended up saying was kind of like a campaign.
Yeah.
It was more than a renovation. It was a campaign to try to figure out how do you get people to love this place.
Right.
Yeah, because they don't love it as much as Disneyland. And so that's a challenge in itself. And then Shanghai is a different kind of challenge. It's a big, huge, endeavor. So, but they're both incredibly gratifying when you finally get them done.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
Cars Land is a really big one for us because it was like the first, maybe we're wrong, but like the first fully immersive experience that, Disney accomplished. I mean, it's one of the only lands even now where you get dropped into the middle of like your favorite movie. You're walking down Radiator Springs at night, all the lights turn on in the same sequence as they did in the movie.
Yes.
I mean, I seriously think Cars Land is still one of the greatest things that Disney has done.
I would also
in
say
that regard.
it's probably your movie too, right? I mean, it's your
Yeah,
generation's
it is.
movie,
Absolutely.
right?
Very much. I was going to say.
Yeah, so it's like maybe one of the first times that you saw something that really came out of your youth, right? And,
Yes.
and we loved doing Cars Land. We loved working with the Pixar team and envisioning what it could be as a 3-dimensional world, what that ride could be. Another complex ride.
Yeah,
Took a lot to do. And we didn't have the technology at that time to do that ride. I mean, back then it was one of the first rides I ever saw or attractions I ever saw that we did fully ride through ahead of time, and we did it in VR.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
But that was early, it was early. And when we were 2:00 in the morning out there testing the ride the first few times, we literally had, you probably don't even remember what this was. We had not iPhones, but iPods.
Oh, man,
Headphones.
yeah.
We had some iPods.
We had iPods, and when they would pull out of the load area, after they checked the seatbelts, they would just do this, and everybody pushed go on their iPod, and that was the soundtrack. That's the way we synced the soundtrack. So it was fun to do. One of the most fun things was there was a kid who asked one of the team during the previews, was out there, like you said, the immersive environment of it, and said, "Is this where they filmed the movie?"
Like, wow, that's where they filmed Cars.
There's no better compliment than that.
Yeah,
That's
that has to be
awesome.
the
I
best.
would have believed it for sure.
Cars Land was really fun for us because, as you kind of mentioned, we grew up with it, right? Our generation, we were very young, and Cars was just the best. It was our favorite.
Right.
And then Cars Land opened. I guess I was 7 when it
was
opened.
2012,
Yeah.
right?
So, I
So
was
it was
7.
really the first even expansion we can remember, any change to the park at all.
Yeah. They had built a lot of individual things in the park, but the overall fabric just didn't hold together yet. And so we did a lot we built Cars Land, obviously, but I remember going to Bob Iger and saying, we're going to tear down the entire main entrance. And this is a park that was less than 10 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And we ended up actually spending as much actually more to renovate the park than we built it for. And, and he said, of all the things you're doing Cars Land, you're doing all these things, do you really need to tear down the main entrance? And I said, Bob, it's just, we're trying to make people love this place. And if Act 1 doesn't work in a movie or a show, it's hard to overcome. It takes you the other half of the movie just to get the audience back, and we don't think it's working. And he had to agree. And so we did a lot of tough things in that park, but we planted, people don't know kind of the total sum of it, but we planted 1,200 trees in that park.
Wow.
Because
that's crazy.
We changed signs, we changed nomenclature. We did a lot of things to try to make the sincerity that you feel, the comfort you feel at Disneyland, the love people that they have for Disneyland. And that's what we're really trying to do. I mean, no question. I'd say that Cars Land gets a lot of credit, which it should. One of the big things that gets huge credit is World of Color, because World of Color, because I was down there all the time, World of Color was the turning point. When World of Color opened and realized people would come at night, they'd stay all evening, they started eating dinner there, they started getting excited to be there. People wanted to go to DCA, they had to try to get a ticket, or a pass to get into World of Color. That's where a lot of the character of Disney California changed.
That's a very good point. I didn't even just think of that. Just having a nighttime show that people then stood in line for there, they got more familiar with the park, as opposed to the exact opposite, right? Where you kind of get hungry and get ready for fireworks on the other side.
You go back to Disneyland.
Right,
that was
right?
The behavior, was everybody just went back to Disneyland. I'll tell you one of the most emotional moments of my career, and I have this new book, Dream Chasing. I'm sure we'll talk about. I wrote about this in Dream Chasing because it was such an important moment to me. I would go out to the team and sit with them sometimes at 2:00 in the morning while they were trying to program World of Color. And it's cold out there. It's the middle of the night, and they ran the show, and it looked great. And we're all sitting there, and it's like director, Steve Davison starts giving some notes and things like that. And we hear applause and people cheering. And we're saying, is that on a track? Is it on somebody's, iPhone? What are we hearing? Because it was muffled.
Right.
And we looked up, and in the windows of the Grand California Hotel, which looks out on the lagoon, people were applauding. They were up at 2:00 in the morning in their bathrobes and their pajamas with their kids, and they were watching the show and watching us program, because there's no way to hide it. But that was the moment where you sort of said, okay, I think this is going to work. If you can be in your hotel room at 2 in the morning applauding, it's going to work.
We're seeing.
That's amazing.
So a little mama insider. Excuse me.
No, you're good. You're good.
But you were there.
I think we were.
I know.
Is that right?
I
want to
we
hear
were.
that.
I believe we were somewhere.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
Definitely one of the nights. I don't know, maybe if it's
there
the exact
were a lot
night.
of nights we were out there. It
Yeah.
didn't have to be the night I was there, but
So we're in the room. We are late Disney people.
yeah.
Okay. We get back to the room. We finally have the kids in bed. And
Eat.
I look over at my husband and I'm like, there's lights on.
There's something going on.
There's something going on out there. And we went out on the balcony and they were
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
I remember Dad waking me up and saying, they're doing something really cool, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're just screaming, oh my God, look at we get to see
Oh,
it."
how wonderful. See, I've told that story many times. I've never met anybody that was up there.
Yes,
That's
we
amazing.
were definitely up there. We loved watching World of Color from the Grand, and we definitely did it before it was
Before
open.
we even knew it was coming.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
was people were trying to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
I just heard this expression, because I spend a lot of time thinking about books now, but I just heard this expression, which is that a book is, and now I'm now going to say like DCA, but a book is like a mountain, and the author comes up one side and the reader comes up the other side, and they meet at the top.
Wow.
And I think that's what we were doing there. Well, I was downstairs. Our team was downstairs working on World of Color. You guys were up in the windows.
Yeah,
trying
enjoying it.
But at that point, I'd say, and you could say, Jack, if you feel this way, it is that by that point we had communicated enough with the local audience about what we were trying to do with Disney California Adventure that they were with us. You're walking around Disney California Adventure, it was all construction fences and things opened, closed, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I felt like there was a wave of positivity that people wanted Disney California Adventure to be a success. They didn't want it to not be as good as it could be. They wanted us. They were behind us.
Yeah.
All right, so.
Do you want to swap with Mom for a sec so you can answer? Do you want to just come answer for a sec? You can just swap with Eric for like 2 seconds so you can answer the question.
So,
Welcome, Mom.
Hey, welcome.
so as a longtime Disney adult before it had a name,
Yeah.
and then I get these three to join me,
Yeah.
and it's really excellent. I was super excited, but they always went to Disneyland, and when we tried to go over to California, they want to go back to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And we are open to, at the time we were rope drop to park close, and we're talking
15 hours.
at 3, 5, and 7.
Yeah.
We all got, my poor husband, he loves Disney, but the four of us are like,
Fanatics.
we claw.
Fanatics.
He has to we have our claws in when he's taking us out.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, security's saying it's time to leave, and we're like, oh, just one more picture.
Okay,
One more picture. That's right. I need one more. Oh, and you. I need one more snack. I need one more this. But so when you started talking about changing the California park, I was so excited because I had such an emotional attachment myself to all of Disneyland. And, it's crazy. Every story, I just have a story. And when I went across the street, across the Esplanade, it was a little different. But then you start talking Cars Land.
Yeah, and World of Color. Yeah.
And a new nighttime water show. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I've been sitting on the ground for hours waiting for Fantasmic so long. I'm glad there's a second show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And even I would say, I think it was brilliant to tie Walt Disney back into
Yeah,
California
Buena Vista
Adventure.
Street.
Right.
Because
Is
you got a little
And
bit.
that really was a big kind of progress moment in trying to figure out how to open it, how to redo the main entrance. And it was this idea that if Main Street was, where Walt grew up, his memory of where he grew up, then Buena Vista Street could be when he first came to Los Angeles
Brilliance.
and Hollywood. So makes Disneyland and California feel like they're complementary to each other.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
For sure.
And
So-
now
so-
knowing that there's some people that we know that actually prefer California Adventure to Disneyland.
Oh yeah,
which is
no,
funny.
I get a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I always got."
Yeah.
So California Adventure opened the same year Adam was born.
Yeah.
Oh, how
And
wonderful.
I thought that was cool, but he kept going back to the other side. And when you announced Cars Land, it was in fact this family's favorite movie. We watched it so many times.
Yeah.
So the fact that there was going to be a Cars Land, I'm like, oh, good, because I love the castle and I love Tomorrowland and all of these different things that meant something to me. And you guys were so excited, and then we have watched World of Color so many times.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and to me, I'm a business person. Software is my bag generally, okay? And now, I do this fun stuff, so no complaints. But as that person,
Eric Reed first year.
he's ready for his chair. And as that person, and I got to experience other rides that opened at Disneyland
Right,
early, and that was all fabulous. But my heart was so full for the huge lines of people waiting to get into Cars Land.
Yes.
And willing to stay there that long
Yeah. It was
to
amazing.
see something. I'm like, whoa, this is just going to be,
Amazing.
this is just going to be amazing. And frankly, hats off to all those people that created this for us.
Yeah.
So that we could come and have this much joy and magic and fun and all the family time we've had. So,
Yeah. 100%.
so-
Well, it's such a dedicated team to go in, and it's fun to be on the Cars Land team and work with Pixar and all that. But the team was also very dedicated, just looking at every detail of Disney California Adventure and say, how can we make this better?
Yeah.
How can we improve this experience for the guests? So a very dedicated group that it takes to do that.
They did a wonderful job too.
Fabulous.
Absolutely.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right.
Awesome.
Come back. Thanks, Mom. Thanks for jumping in. We always love it.
Yeah, thank you.
No, you're good. That was great.
I think you should have a turnaround camera. So when you
Yeah, I know. We should
Yeah.
get you a mic that you
I'll
can
make
mute and
a note.
unmute, and then
Yeah.
we'll have a
And then
camera.
Yeah.
You know, let me just tell you one thing about this. You know, I've been very privileged and got to write a couple of books in the last few years. But I wrote a novel called Ghost Dog, and it's because of I grew up, you know, much earlier than you guys. But it takes place in 1967 at Disneyland,
Really?
which is the year that the Haunted Mansion opened.
Wow.
And I was there. We talked about being there. You know, I was there. I was a kid, and I grew up with Disneyland because I grew up in Pomona, going, you know, down the Corona Del Mar Express and going to Disneyland. And what I tried to capture, what I wanted to capture, was that experience of what Disneyland was like for people then, and how it could transform people's moods, their lives, give them a positive attitude. And that's a lot of what I tried to capture, because that's the way I grew up, going
Yeah.
to Disneyland.
Yeah, that's so
amazing.
Cool. We have Ghost Dog here with
Awesome.
us too. So we got Ghost Dog, and then we have
Thank
Dream
you.
Chasing.
Yes.
They're both really meaningful to me. I wrote them kind of at the same time.
Really?
Wow.
Really?
Ghost
Yeah.
Dog, and this is his other book, Dream Chasing.
And
I
Dream
think it's
Chasing
called Walking
is Ghost Dog is kind of a young adult, kind of a Harry Potter type book. Fun, takes place at Disneyland. And the premise of it, it's kind of truth in titling, Ghost Dog. It's the premise is a kid who lost his dog. They go to Disneyland to cheer him up. And you know, at the end of the Haunted Mansion, when a ghost follows you home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a ghost dog follows the family home.
that's
And
cool.
that's
It's
amazing.
about their life living with a ghost dog. So it's fun.
That's great.
And I had a great time doing it. And I love people always ask me, "What's your favorite ride at Disneyland?" And I always
Yeah,
say,
we actually had that one up. So.
it's the Haunted Mansion.
Nice.
Wow. Great to know.
And it's so meaningful to me. And I thought, I'll never do anything that good. You know, it's just like, what could you do?
Wow.
And I said, well, I can't like redo the Haunted Mansion, but what I could do is write a book about it. So that's where the idea came.
That's pretty
Fantastic.
cool.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Let me, if you don't mind, I'll read a little moment, because we're talking about
Yeah.
the emotional connection between guests.
Yeah, no,
of course.
I would love to.
For
That'd
sure.
be great.
And I'll see if I can get through it. Sometimes I cry, but
Aw.
you won't. I just think it's because you guys are such lovers of the parks.
Oh yeah. The parks is our life. We love the parks so much.
Yeah, that's what I tried to capture in this book. So his parents take him to Disneyland, and he's a kid. He's lost his dog. He's not having that much fun, and his mom kind of says, you know, come on, can you just try? You know,
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
lost the dog. The whole family lost the dog. We're at Disneyland. Would you just try? And Herbert, who's the kid, says, I'll try. And Herbert did try. And somehow the spirit and the magic and the comfort of family overtook him, as Herbert's dad had often repeated in his overblown analytical musings about Disneyland. You just have to bring the 20%, and the park will do the rest. Wow. Herbert's tank was empty when he got there, and at last he felt himself being drawn into what could only be called fun. Despite it all, he was being restored, and somehow the resilience necessary to imagine life without Napoleon seemed possible. It turns out his dad was almost right. You don't even have to bring the 20%.
Aww.
That's
I love
incredible.
that.
That's
Applause for
incredible.
that.
Yeah.
Really, it is what it feels like.
It's
for
the way
us
I
to go
feel.
to
It's the
Disney.
way I feel.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Just being
It has a
able to,
transformative effect on people.
yeah.
And I think when you ask yourself, why do people go back and back?
Yeah.
It's that, right?
Yeah.
Well,
No,
that's something.
Absolutely.
we
I
have
think-
over like 3,000 visits to Disneyland.
Yeah.
I mean,
We do.
it's
Yeah.
a lot.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't
no.
do that if it was just for a ride or something. You
Well,
do it because of the family, the emotional connection you have, all those things. That's what I was trying to capture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
The thing that people ask us the most when maybe we go to Disneyland a lot and some people we know that don't, and they're like, why? And I'm like, you just have to get it, right? You just have to feel it. And oftentimes we've had people who are like, just come with us. Just, get the SoCal resident 3-day pass.
Spend 3 days at Disneyland
And
with
if-
us, and you'll get it by the
Right.
end.
Right.
I
You'll get it
promise.
by the end.
A
Yeah.
lot of times they end up using that ticket to upgrade to an annual pass to
Yeah.
try and come back, right? And it's just like, because you can't explain it sometimes, right?
Right.
You
You
you're
can't
in the
explain it. You have to
parks.
be it. And actually, Walt Disney himself told his Imagineers in his first generation of Imagineers, he asked them to go to Disneyland once a week and just go sit on a park bench and watch people, because you'll learn more about what this is about by doing that than anything else you could possibly do in your office. Just
That's a
go
great
down
point.
and see them.
Wow, that is so cool. And actually, so I did read your book, and it's very
Yes.
very, very, very well done.
Yeah.
But I think in the book you actually talk about one of your early jobs was actually being on Main Street, so you kind of got used to that guest.
I did.
experience.
When I was in college, I worked for the summer at Disneyland, and I thought, well, I'm studying theater, or I'm studying architecture. They're going to give me some great job, running entertainment or something. And, and they gave me a job as an ice cream popcorn salesman. I'm like, what? It's like, that's that. But I went down and I committed that I was, if I'm going to be an ice cream popcorn salesman, I'm going to be a good one.
Yeah.
So I learned. Back then, you had sheets of dry ice, and you fanned them with a popcorn box.
Wow.
To try to get the thing to be cold. And if you fanned it too much, the ice cream froze, and people broke their teeth in the ice cream sandwiches. If you didn't do enough, it all melted.
Wow.
And I learned how to make popcorn and all that stuff. And toward the end of my first year at Disneyland, they took over the outdoor foods people took over the balloon concession, which had been owned by one of Walt's friends for years. And so it became there, and they trained us on balloons. And I still need mental counseling from working on balloons. It was a traumatic
my
experience.
God.
It was terrible.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you went in this padded room, and you had these little jets, and you had to try to fill back then it was just a single balloon with the two ears. And if you filled it too fast, it exploded, or the ears didn't open, and the face got too big, and the ears didn't open. It was a nightmare. And then you had to hold 50 balloons in all the strings, keep the strings from getting untangled, all that stuff. And the hidden secret of the whole Disneyland thing, which I'll tell you now, the true hidden secret, dark secret, is that every parent says, I'll get one we'll get you one on the way out, right? You always say, we'll get it on the way out.
Yeah.
So they
heard that before.
put this balloon vendor at the end of Main Street as everybody's exiting. So you're like Elton John standing there. People are just like all around you you're trying to keep the string straight. Yeah, all you had back then was an apron full of quarters, and you're trying to make change.
Wow.
And then the
my
balloons
gosh.
are getting away. So I went to my boss the next day, and I said, I cannot do this again. I can never do balloons again. He said, you have to do balloons because it's part of our job now. And I said, can I get transferred? And they looked at me and they said, Bob, you can't run from your problems in life.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
Seriously.
Wow.
And so I quit. And I was
Wow.
like, that's the end of my Disney career.
Yeah. Wow.
After one, summer and fall. But I came back, obviously.
Yes, eventually.
But that's my Disneyland story.
We're glad you
So-
did.
Yes, we're
So
very
the
glad.
hardest part wasn't Imagineering President; it was Balloon.
It was
Man.
Balloon. Balloon
Wow.
will forever.
The
And if you
hardest
look at the cover of Dream Chasing, which is my book about my 40 years at Disney Imagineering, there's a balloon man in the
No, there he
illustration.
is. Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
That's great.
There's
Does
a
he
couple
have,
of
like, a sad
obscure.
face? Does he have?
Yeah, I know it's yeah. But the illustrator, wonderful illustrator at Disney Editions, who did the cover, read the book, and she put the balloon man up there. She put a flamingo on there, which I'll let you guess what that was. There's a picture of Shanghai. There's the Disney California Adventure when we did the mouse wheel. It's fun. And this used to be at Disney Hollywood Studios.
Yes.
The old water tower with
we
the
have
mouse
lots of
ears.
photos in front of the water tower.
Yeah,
in
we
Hollywood
do.
Studios.
So it was fun. It's fun.
Yeah, something I was going to ask about, maybe kind of in relations to the book or other things, but I know you worked on Disney Cruise Line a little bit.
Yes.
And I would just love to just hear a little bit about, I don't know, maybe the difference between an immersive land versus a park versus a ship that kind of you're building.
It's interesting. The
experiences.
ship is probably the most immersive,
Yeah.
because people are staying on board. They're there, and they're in a relatively, it's a big ship, but it's relatively small audience relative to, say, how many people are in the park at night.
Right.
And so you're there with the characters, and you almost get to know them. They're almost like just there on the ship with you. And,
Yeah.
And the cast on the ship is incredible, and they're from all over the world, and they're so anxious to support anything you want to do. So I had been on the cruise ship experience, And then they came through and they said, well, we're going to do 2 more cruise ships. And I was like, and this is when I was president of WDI. I was like, that's exciting. And Carl Holtz, who was head of the cruise at the time, came over to my office and he unrolled. I had a huge table. He unrolled the deck plan, which was about 9 feet long of the new ship that they were talking about. And we decided we wanted to do something new. And the ships were actually evolving. They kind of started out as being like the Fab Five characters and a lot of gold and deco and that kind of thing.
Right.
And we said, well, there's no reason why the ships each can't have their own story. And so we started thinking in that direction. And the first one that came out was The Wish, which was really related mostly to kind of the princesses and their stories, their journeys, their empowerment, all of that. That was great. And then as we started working on the second one, we started to say, well, let's look at adventure. Let's look at something that came up with the name The Treasure. So they're all different. They're all unique, but they, relative to the original ships, they've all kind of changed now. But relative to the originals, we started out much more connected to the stories, the characters. So you have things like the Haunted Mansion, Experience Bar. You have Coco. You have Frozen on The Wish. We tried to really take people into the Disney experiences in new ways. And I've been on The Wish now a couple times, and I was just on The Treasure.
Oh, nice.
Amazing.
And it was great. I went on The Treasure. Imagine for me that quitting my job as a balloon man, and then some 45 years later, not just getting on The Treasure, but getting on as a Disney author. And I did 3.
And your book sold out. I mean, let's talk about that too. That's awesome.
I did 3 author events on board in this beautiful theater. And I said, nobody's going to come to this theater. They're on vacation. They're out having fun. And we filled the theater 3 times.
Wow.
We sold the books out multiple. I kept signing books. There was a line down the deck. I kept signing and signing and signing. And it was just 3 different events. I said, this is not possible. You guys told me how many books you had. They sold out, but I couldn't be signing this many books. And then we realized they put out a message to all the DVC club members. Said, we're only going to have a limited number of books, so you might want to bring them. So all these people brought books on board. That's why I was signing. I probably signed 1,000 books or something like that.
We're going to need you 1,001 coming up.
That's right.
We have one more copy here that we're going to need you to sign.
But it was really fun to be on The Treasure. Of course, to be there as an author, talking to people is great. But the ship is just beautiful and wonderful and great experience.
We've only done one Disney cruise, and it was the Fantasy, and it was 2 months before we started Insiders.
Oh, wow.
So,
Good.
It was almost like our last just vacation before we decided we needed to start filming it. So.
And the funny thing is like a couple weeks into that, we're like, man, I really wish we had thought of this because we could have filmed that and it would have made great content. But it was kind of nice to just enjoy it.
I think you have to enjoy it first, and then you can do a better job of telling the story. You have to go a couple times. You have to go a couple times.
I like that.
The Alaska trip, by the way, the Alaska trip is a great trip too.
Really?
Nice.
People usually think of it as the Caribbean, but the Alaska and the cold going up to the glacier, that's a beautiful trip too.
Nice.
It's just wonderful to be on board.
Yeah,
and so,
we can't wait. We're ready for our next Disney
We're ready for our next
Whether
one.
Treasure or Wish.
The Treasure and the Wish, obviously high, and there's isn't there like a Haunted Mansion something on one of the ships? Isn't there?
There's a lounge, right?
There's a lounge. There's a lounge on the Treasure.
On the Treasure.
Which has illusions and things on it.
Nice.
That's so cool.
And there's new stuff coming on the next one. I'm not going to talk about any of it, but
I'm sure you
We'll have to have you back.
Every one of them is unique.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on the show to talk about it.
But the last one I really contributed to was the Treasure. So that was a doubly kind of emotional thing for me because it was one of the last projects I worked on, and to be able to be on it, it's wonderful.
Yeah, that was probably such a cool experience too.
Such a cool feeling.
Well, thank you for making so much magic for all of us Disney fans.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
I don't know. I hope you know, and I'm sure you do. But just how much we care about what you do, how
much we care about you, how much we care because we don't have anything without you guys. And so I hope everybody will check out Dream Chasing and Ghost Dog. And next week. Well, I'll tell you, Dream Chasing, there's an audiobook also.
Oh, okay.
And you should just listen to it just because I went in the studio 26 times to record it.
Oh, wow.
So there's that. But next week, the the audiobook of Ghost Dog comes out too.
Amazing.
With
Great.
Nice.
with wonderful, unique musical accompaniment to it. So please check them both out.
Nice.
And we have them linked in the description of the video also.
Yes,
so if
you
you
can
want
check
to,
them
if you
out.
want to check it out,
The
It's
audio
right
book
there,
there.
so you can just do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the audiobook for both of those should be out by the time this is published.
And
So
we
Yeah.
actually met Bob the first time at a book signing.
Yeah,
because
that was
we
so
were
much
signing
fun.
the Ultimate Disneyland Food Guide.
Yes.
which is also in the
Absolutely.
description.
Which is also
So,
there.
Yeah,
Yes.
this one too.
All right, if you're gonna hold that up, I'm gonna hold
Yeah,
these
right,
up.
there you go.
There you go.
Boom.
We'll hold up all of our books.
Oh,
we
all
did.
of
We
those.
met.
Oh, wait.
We met at Walt's Barn. That was so much fun to meet you out there.
Yeah.
And,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
and if you ever, for any of the fans, come to LA, it is such a great experience. It's only open once a month,
I know.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
third
So-
Sunday of every month.
so it's almost
But-
like a reunion to go there when
Yeah.
we all go there. So
Yeah.
it's great to see you out there. I'm so
Oh.
glad we met, and so glad we were able to do this.
Yes, me
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
Me too. That
We
was
had
such
a
a
really
cool
great
time.
time.
And we were pinching ourselves because we were sitting at a book signing next to like you and then Steve Anderson, who did Winnie the Pooh and some of our
Meet the
other
Robinsons.
Meet the Robinsons, directed
He was
some of those.
there.
Martha Blanding,
Right.
did
The
a Disney
Blanding was
legend.
there.
Yeah.
She was there.
Tim
We're sitting
O'Day.
there
O'Day.
and we're like, we're sitting at the same table as these people.
I know, we
Like,
were
a
so
little bit of
excited.
imposter
Wow.
syndrome. We're like,
So happy to be invited and be able to have our
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
corner of the book signing event.
Yeah,
Just
so-
the barn.
so honored.
That's congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great. It's
Thank
great
you.
that you did the book. You gave me a copy of the book, and I love
Yes.
the book. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We had so much fun writing
We
it.
tried
Well, of
just
course.
We
With
got the.
What's your next
3,000
book?
visits in there.
When's the next book coming out?
So-
Next book. So we have some options, but obviously it's a bit of a bigger project. But there is Disney World, and they do food very, very well. So we
Yeah.
thought about making a Disney World food guide. It'd have to be like
It's gonna be like
really thick compared to that one.
Compared to that one.
Just
there's
'cause-
so many more restaurants. There's more than
Oh
double.
yeah, you might
Yeah.
have to do an encyclopedic
Right.
thing,
Exactly,
Or
yeah.
maybe we break it down into like Epcot, Magic Kingdom.
Yeah,
break it down
break it
into
up
Maybe
into
we
the
do
parks.
2x2, like
Yeah.
Epcot and Animal Kingdom and
Yeah.
Hollywood Studios and Magic Kingdom.
Well, another thing you could I'll give you this idea free.
Deal.
You could just do hidden food. You could just do
Yeah.
the stuff nobody knows about.
Yeah,
And
this is
because there's
great.
so many places to eat there, and there's obviously the incredibly popular ones, but then there's just places that people don't know that are off the path.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear the
like that idea.
nachos? Did you ever hear the nachos story?
No.
The nacho
I know we're
story.
out of time, but I'll just tell you
That's
this.
okay.
This is an example, though.
Yeah.
The the Pecos Bill restaurant, which is next to Big Thunder,
Yes.
in
Yes.
Magic
Yeah.
Kingdom. They came up with this idea, and all the chefs are so creative. The restaurateurs are so creative. They came up with this idea. They said, "We're going to do a gigantic tray of nachos,
Wow.
like
Love it.
like for 20 people,
Wow.
and we're never going to put it on the menu, and we're only going to serve it like at the last minute for an hour." And people hung out at Pecos Bill, hoping that, and all of a sudden there would be like, okay, today we're going to do it at 3:00 in the afternoon. And all of a sudden they'd say the nachos, and people would like, I gotta get that nachos tray. And then like within an hour, it was gone. You couldn't get it anymore.
Wow.
And it was like $100 plate of nachos.
Wow.
But there's fun things like that that are kind of in the hidden,
Yeah.
the hidden world of
Yes.
food. So.
Hidden food at Disneyland.
guys would
we
be
should,
great.
or Disney World.
Disney
we should
World.
do
Disney
that.
World. Do that.
We'll
Yeah.
text and be
For
like,
sure.
Put that
do
in.
you have any more?
Yeah.
Where's the
Any more
special?
ideas?
And
Yeah.
they might do stuff just for you. They might just like say, okay, we're gonna freak these guys out. We're gonna do, when they walk in, we're gonna do the nachos tray for 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah,
my
that would
gosh.
be crazy.
That's
Wow.
hilarious.
I
I, didn't
love
know
that.
That's pretty cool.
There's
I
little
didn't
things
know
like
that.
that appear.
So, for the people listening or watching at home, however they're consuming this episode, what is something you would tell them, like how to become an Imagineer? If we have any like inspiring Imagineers listening or watching, what would you tell them?
Well, to all inspiring Imagineers, it's great that you're feeling that way. It's great that you're thinking that way. And in today's world, I would say you don't have to be an artist. If you are an artist, that's great. You should work on your art. You should draw every day. You should keep all your art so that you can show it, keep all your attraction ideas.
Yeah.
But if you love talking to people and leading people, and maybe you lead the first robotics club in your school or your student government, or there's roles in marketing and in leadership and project management, technical people that are good in math that want to study engineering or robotics or ride systems. There is just such a breadth. There's I think at last count 150 different disciplines at Imagineering, from ride engineering to stained glass people. You know. So there's lots of roles, but you have to be excellent You have to be very hardworking, and whatever you like to do, you have to do it all the time. You have to really prove yourself.
Yeah.
And go to a great school where you can learn about immersive design and theme park design. There's some great schools out there that have even undergraduate majors and graduate school majors.
Wow.
So go after it, and then even if you don't get into Imagineering first round, there's lots of companies that support the parks and do Imagineering. There's entertainment, and there's a great, if you're a little older listening, the Disney College program at Walt Disney World is fantastic for people that are interested in working with Disney.
That's
great.
great.
A really good
That's
answer. We have a
fantastic.
lot
Yeah,
of friends
for
that
sure.
did college program, and they loved
Well,
every
just
second
kind of an
of it.
introduction to the
best things,
company,
yeah.
which is almost just as important as your education, is working well within the Disney
Right.
kind of vision and ecosystem. So thank you. Very
Yeah,
cool.
that's a great
Yeah.
answer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really great.
So, obviously, you started as the ice cream and
Ice cream.
popcorn person.
I will
balloon,
forever
and
be
the
known.
balloons. Can't
Forever
forget the
be known.
balloons.
Yeah.
But when you got to Imagineering, what was the first moment you were there that you're like, oh my gosh, this is it.
This is
is
my
what I've been
job.
dreaming of
Yeah.
doing. And I finally did
I
it.
can't believe this is my life.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
kind of,
can't
kind of
believe
an
this is
I
my
made
life.
it kind of moment if you have one.
The first
Yeah.
the first time that I think I felt like I was really at Imagineering and in a unique place was when I first started traveling to Tokyo Disneyland when it was under construction.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
and realizing the partnership that you have with people and both the guests and the fellow designers, and realizing we were taking Disneyland to a whole new world, to Tokyo in 1983, and that it was resonating. That here's something that Walt Disney created in 1955 in Anaheim, California, and here we are in the middle of Tokyo, Japan,
Wow.
and that it would still be powerful for people. That is
Yeah.
that's a big idea.
Yeah.
If you can do that.
Yeah.
That's a very cool point. In Tokyo, like we have some friends who are there now, and they just the lines, like the amount of people who attend that park is crazy. There's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
many
you could
people.
not have imagined
so
at that
received.
time how successful it would be,
Yeah.
and how it belongs. All the parks belong to their audience. They, we have stewardship over the parks. They really belong to the people. They belong to the guests. And over there, it's just stunning how that has become so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really to Japan, and this is a longer answer, but I'll tell you the when Japan had that terrible earthquake, and it was the first
Yeah.
time Tokyo Disneyland closed for an extended period of time, when it reopened, it was really a moment where Japan said, we're going to heal. We're going to heal
Wow.
from this earthquake because Tokyo Disneyland reopened. We can
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
We're going
And
to come back.
You guys were able to bring that to them, which is such a gift. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so cool
To
that
be
you were
able to do that.
And
for
also,
those
and
people.
also, so many Japanese designers, architects, artists worked with us. We couldn't have done it without it. So it's really
Yeah.
a global partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good
Yeah,
point.
that's so
and
beautiful.
just-
I
that's
love that.
incredible.
Yeah, we are big fans of the Imagineering story. We watched every episode multiple times.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we
yeah.
actually, I don't even know
The
how
good
it happened,
news-
but we made a cameo in episode 6 for actually
Oh,
in
awesome.
the
Yeah.
Imagineering
Oh, great.
story
There you go.
for
That's
like
great.
2 seconds.
Oh,
But,
that's great.
Yeah.
I get old. I go from like 25 to 60 in that show.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
My first appearance, I'm like 25 years old, and then I'm president of Imagineering.
Wow,
Wow.
that's
Wow.
hilarious.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. I
That's
love
fun.
that they dig into the archives like that. Though.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah,
pull-
yeah,
pull
yeah.
things
They
exactly.
have
out.
all those photos and
Yeah.
footage. and
But
all
man,
of
I
That's
remember
very fun.
watching the episode about that moment, and it was just so
Yeah.
it was powerful on the show, and it's even powerful here, which is
Yeah.
just so cool that you guys
Yeah.
were able to do
It
that.
just tells you the power of Disney parks. It's just, Disney storytelling parks and the relationship. I think as I've been book signing these books around different parts of the country, including on the Treasure, I find that people, you say, well, are you a big Disney fan? They say yes. I say, a big parks fan? Yes. But I'm really an Imagineering fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
some ways, they'll end up saying something really emotional about their time in the parks or something. And you realize that in many ways, there's a trust level between the guests and the Imagineers.
Yeah.
I think the guests, the Imagineers do it for the guests. And I think the guests trust that Imagineering's heart is in the right place.
Yeah.
And they're always trying to do the best for them.
Absolutely. It's something that's kind of fun for us. So I remember that same kind of feeling where we had to start just kind of trusting Imagineers. I remember anytime a change was announced, the biggest one when we were younger was when it went from Tower Terror to Guardians of the Galaxy over in DCA. I was just so mad, and I remember I was like, I love Tower Terror. I'm never gonna be able to ride it again, and they're changing it to some superhero thing.
We rode Guardians one time, and we're like, oh, that was so much better.
That was amazing.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah.
What happens is you get a bunch of people will sign up on a website, 100,000 people saying, don't do it, and then and then it opens as, oh, never mind.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, so that's
That's
great.
Yeah,
That was
it's
pretty
here.
good.
Yeah,
But
so-
it's good to know that people care,
Yeah.
right? So it's good to know the guests care, but it's also, you can trust that the Imagineers care just as much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
And
know. what
now,
they're
whenever
doing.
Disney revamps something or anything, I always am like, all right, remember
like, okay.
Yeah,
Haunted or Tower of Terror to Guardians? Like,
right.
just
Yeah,
remember.
just
Remember
think
that.
about that.
Yeah.
And just
Well,
trust the
splash to
Imagineers.
Tiana's,
Yeah,
Exactly,
another
yeah.
like great
tough
case.
call. They're all tough calls to make.
They are.
But they're not made lightly. They're never made
Yeah.
lightly.
No,
Yeah.
I believe that. I believe that
Actually-
for sure.
This is kind of a deep cut, but even bigger to me was when it switched from Maelstrom to
Oh.
Frozen Ever
Oh,
After.
yeah.
That broke my heart. It was
Oh,
my favorite ride. But now I'm like, oh,
Same thing.
okay, I really love this ride. So it's
Okay,
fine.
good.
Frozen Ever
Yeah.
After is
Okay.
incredible.
And
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it Frozen. I want Frozen and Tangled to come to Disneyland
I
in
know.
some
Yeah,
capacity
Fantasy
of a ride.
Springs.
Just a little more,
Yeah, some
yeah.
Fantasy Springs at Disneyland.
Oh
That's
man,
what I want.
that would be incredible.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's amazing. That
Well,
was so
oh my
much fun.
gosh,
That was
yeah.
incredible.
this is a blast. I swear we could talk to you for another hour.
Well, I'd be happy to come back. Eric, Adam, Kara,
Yeah.
you guys are fantastic. I love what you do for the parks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for the fans. And I'll come back anytime.
Oh,
you.
great.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
much. Our
It
And
was,
goal.
thank you guys for
And-
watching
yes.
and
if you enjoyed
joining
the
us
episode,
here.
be sure to subscribe or follow or
Yeah.
share or
Yeah.
all the things that you know
Anything
to
it
do.
is. Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. And
Yeah.
of course, thank you,
Yes,
Bob,
and
for
thank you,
being
Bob,
here.
for being here. It's such
Yes.
an honor to have you on our show. Thank you.
you.
Yeah.
And if you're watching, comment right now. I'm sure you learned a lot more about Bob than you did before you started watching. So, what's one of your favorite things at Disneyland that he did, or at Disney?
Maybe at
that he
Disney.
or
did?
something
anywhere.
you wish we would have talked about.
Yeah, let us know in the
questions
comments.
for
Yeah,
next time.
come
We can
back.
always do Q&A in the future.
Yeah.
But just thank you guys so much. We're gonna end it here.
All right.
And that was totally
That was
awesome.
totally
Yeah.
awesome.
Stay
That was
awesome.
totally awesome.
It was totally awesome.
Yeah, you're officially you awesome person, awesome stories. So-
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
That's totally awesome.